All right, guys, we're ready for our Four Seasons sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh no, wait, a family hub.
Yeah! No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.
And happy Thursday evening, everyone. This is For Whom the Bell Tolls. I am Lou, and so happy to have you on the evening for Friday, the second best day of the week. With me, I have my favorite co-host, Dr. Andy Arrington. Dr. Arrington, how are you?
I'm good in preparation for my big oral surgery tomorrow, but I'm happy to be your favorite co-host. I certainly thought that might have been Stacy. You guys have done a show together once, I think, and I remember that. It was very raucous.
Yes, exactly, which is why we don't do a lot of shows together, because they get kind of raucous. But it was a lot of fun. So we balance out a little bit, but at the same time we get a little bit carried away. So yeah, it was fun. But we don't do that a lot. But yes, you are my favorite co-host, and we did get to do a lot of shows together. So
are we going to talk about national security and international security, which are both related? You realize that, I'm sure. Absolutely.
We're going to talk tonight about the thumb-nosing, which is really a word that I made up, but there's in my studies in international relations, we talked a lot about countries thumbing their nose intentionally particularly at the superpowers, and Russia, during the Cold War was constantly thumbing their nose in our direction, but also some of the saber rattling that's going on, and we've seen it most notably probably with Iran and some with North Korea, but, a little bit more in a subtle way with Russia, and we'll talk about those three countries. But first, let's talk about what it really means. So it's really, really important for the leader of the free world, which is the United States. Like it or not, there is no more democratic nation in the world. There is no more, there's no republic like ours. There is no constitution that's lasted as long as ours. We have been the balancer and the force that kind of keeps democracy moving in the world in a lot of ways. And some of that comes from us challenging other concepts, the Sharia law. We challenge that concept. Communism, we challenge the concept. And that puts us in the position of being the leader of the free world. The person in the White House is the highest power in that free world. Nothing means more to global security than the actions and reactions of that person that we choose as the American people to be that power in the White House, the leader of the free world. They don't call him that for nothing, or her that for nothing. Whoever is in the White House is the leader of the free world. Their movements, everything that they do, affects global security and geopolitics. And we've seen, just like during the Carter years, the inability of President Obama to stand up against certain really negative forces, to stand up for the forces of good. And we talked about this a little bit ago, and I called him feckless, and I'll let you explain why you think that he's really effective in what he wants to do, which just makes this election year that much more important. We need to identify as our leader the person who wants to make us strong, not the person who wants to give us free stuff, but the person who wants to and can make us strong, make us a global power again, because the guy that's in the White House now has made us look weak and ineffective on the global stage.
The United States, this is all, we talked about this offline, all depends on the perspective from which you make your judgments, okay? The free world, by the way, the United States is still the only major superpower, global superpower on the earth. We are still in that position. But I am simultaneously angered and embarrassed by that knucklehead in the White House, the way he goes about governing this country and trying to lead this country in certain directions. So when you judge him, whether you think he is feckless or is he highly skilled and powerful, it depends on the perspective from which you judge him. If you are a traditional constitutional republic that believes in democracy, he is a failure. He is kind of covered up in the United States as that shining city set upon the hill, which I think we are. And Lou, the whole world depends on having a strong, vibrant United States of America that is active all over the world to keep anarchy at bay. When we are perceived to be weak, we're not weak, Lou, but because of what he's doing and not doing, we are perceived to be weak, and he's perceived to be feckless, then that opens up the door. Pandora's box is opened up for all these little countries to go out and saber rattle and thumb nose, the word you just made up, against the United States. So
and not just,
I think he's highly effective.
Yeah,
and
not just little countries, but nuclear powers. Countries who have nuclear bombs. And so this is not a little thing. And they might not be as powerful as we are, and their military might not be as well trained and as powerful and as large as ours, but they are still nuclear powers. So the three countries the three nation states that we're going to talk about tonight, it's Iran, North Korea, and Russia. You can argue all you want to about where Iran is with their nuclear program, but I'll put money on the table right now, it's a done deal. Because every nuclear proliferation situation I ever studied, they are 6 months to a year ahead of where you think they are. Always.
That's a great analysis, and it's true. Absolutely true.
Yeah.
And we have wonderful intelligence agencies, but during one of your favorite presidents' two terms in office, Mr. Clinton, he basically decimated our human intelligence, which is where you get the most intelligence from. And that was also extended by the current occupant of the White House. They don't believe in this intelligence stuff, and they basically gut their abilities to do things and take away their budget. And that hurts the United States of America. And by proxy, since this is an international relations type of show and security, it hurts the rest of the world when the United States is downgraded, or we aren't willing to use our superpower strength, our economy, our military. If we're not willing to use that, then we're perceived to be weak, even though we're not. And that's exactly what Bin Laden told his adherents. They're a paper tiger. Yeah,
absolutely. So we had we've had enough really happen with Iran in the past few weeks to put us in a situation where there's a pretty high level of tension. If we had a president like Ronald Reagan or, any number of other presidents, pretty much any other president, we would not be still capitulating, still apologizing, and still kissing the tail of the Iranian leaders. And, we could talk all day about why we're doing that, but let's don't, because everybody talks about why we're doing that. Let's talk a bit about the effect of it.
It's interesting what you bring up there, because it reminded me, and we've discussed this before, about that new term that was introduced to the United States lexicon back in 1979. I think it was November, and that term was American hostages. And of course, we have had that term reintroduced to us when they illegally seized those 10 wonderful sailors on the high seas there, on their way to Bahrain, and held them for 18 hours, 16 hours. It was just basically a total embarrassment right before the final State of the Union address of Barack Hussein Obama. I saw that young lieutenant who was the senior man on those 2 riverine boats giving his little coerced confession, and I had to pull over. Like I told you, I was watching it on my phone as I'm driving slowly, and I had to pull over because it just totally made me feel angered and embarrassed that we had to go through this.
And that was
right
the
back
reason,
to SEER school.
Right, and that was the reason for doing it, and it was the reason for releasing the photographs of our sailors on the boats on their knees with their heads behind their hands behind their head. They released those photos on purpose to embarrass our country and our Navy and our military. They did it intentionally. They did it very calculatedly. And it was a geopolitical move. And people need to understand this, that when Iran makes a move like this, when they challenge our Navy, which they did again today, when they negotiate a deal, when we allow them to negotiate a nuclear deal like they did with us, which is basically a complete capitulation on our part and absolutely nothing that we got from them. When we allow that to happen, they win. And once they won the negotiation for the nuclear deal, they escalated those saber-rattling and thumb-nosing events because they had the position of power. Every move the president makes like that shifts the position of power geopolitically in the world. And this is what people need to understand. Some people may think of it, and Donald Trump talks of it, as if it's just a negotiation, and the negotiation didn't go well. That's not all it is. It's a setup for the next geopolitical event. After the Iran deal, the next geopolitical event was they took our boats, they took our patrol boats, and they took our sailors, and then they took the high road on letting them go. Once they were gone, they found a few more Americans to grab. Once that was done, they decided they would go, because the sanctions are lifted and they could do business in Europe. Rouhani goes on a business trip, buys Airbuses, and he's doing business with the EU, attempting to drive a wedge between us and our allies. And then again today, they challenged our Navy again. So this has all happened over the past couple of weeks, and this is just one country, Iran. And we're going to talk about a couple of more. This is what is created in the world, in the geopolitical world, when there is a leader in the White House that, regardless of whether is his intent to do so or it's not his intent to do so, makes us look weak.
So you're saying because the president of Iran, Rouhani, went over and bought Airbuses from France, that he's basically snubbing his nose at the United States where he could be buying Lockheed or Boeing product.
He is doing.
What you're saying?
He is doing high-tech business and military business with NATO countries. Think about that.
He's got a lot of money to spend. I think Kerry and Obama just released $150 billion as part of that nuke deal, and
exactly.
He's got plenty of money to spend.
Exactly. The report I heard on Fox News again today was that they have more money to spend right now, possibly, than any other country in the world.
That's not true. The United States has more money than anybody, but we spend it on a whole gambit of things.
Well, they're talking liquid. They're talking liquid. Actually, non-committed funds that are sitting in the bank ready to be spent. And I don't think we have any surplus that's not committed. If we do, it's not much.
Yeah, I wish we'd spend some money on our veterans.
But I know exactly. But that's a good, that's a good point to make. Is that it's uncommitted liquid funds. All of a sudden, they've got billions, hundreds of billions of dollars to spend, and they can go to the EU and buy 100 Airbuses from France and drive a wedge. Give France a vested reason.
It reminds me when I was in high school, and I have a date on a Saturday night. I wasn't playing basketball, and my dad would give me a $20 bill. I had lots of liquid money, but $20 to buy a lot of good date things back then.
Yeah, back then it would. Yeah, that's a good date, $20.
Yeah. Oh, it was.
Right, exactly. But they are giving France and the rest of the EU and our NATO partners an interest in aligning with them and allying with them and against us. So now they're basically buying influence with these countries. And if you don't think that works, check again. It works in other countries just like it works here. And we're also talking about the countries they're doing business with. His tour is with UN Security Council members. This is really disturbing to me. I just want everybody to let that marinate for a minute. NATO partners, Security Council members, and Iran is basically buying favor with them with the money that we released to them because of what was called a bad negotiation and a negative nuclear deal. It was a lot more than that
depends on the perspective of which you're making that judgment. From an American perspective, Americans, it was a terrible, probably the worst deal ever.
We are making the assessment from here going forward for America. So just insert for America. It's a horrible deal for America. It was a bad negotiation for America. Maybe Obama and Kerry and Valerie Jarrett were very happy with the way it went. If that's the case, then they are just not for America. Which I think is what you're saying.
How long did it take you to come to that conclusion?
About 30 seconds.
For America? Since he was running and since Kerry threw his medals from Vietnam over the White House fence. They're all traitors.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that, I don't think there's really any question about that. But that, again, goes back to the point of being extremely careful about who you choose to vote for president. It means everything, not just to universal health care in this country. It means the safety of the world or not. Because Iran as a nuclear power is not a safe world.
I agree totally. And we have people now that are in the top echelons that make these judgments, policy judgments, that don't understand that, are incompetent, or they understand exactly what they're doing, and they're tearing down the United States of America for whatever reasons they have or are motivated to do that, whether they think the United States has been an arrogant nation like Hussein Obama thinks. Whatever your reason is, you want to tear down the United States, and you've got several people now in the high echelons of the government that are exactly of that mind and want to do that. And they are witting traitors. They're wittingly committing treason every single day. And they do need the help of the unwitting treasonous people that we talked about the other day on office hours. They are all in collusion. And I think those ones that are unwitting know not what they do, Lou.
Right, useful idiots. And I had another conversation with some friends on Twitter about useful idiots today.